Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ironworker Gaming channel for another Destiny 2 PvP viewer-requested weapon review. We're only 40 days from the launch of Beyond Light, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions pertaining to the next expansion. One thing we do know though is many of our favorite weapons are going to be sunset, and that means any weapon more than a year old is going to be stuck at power level 1060 forever. Unless of course Bungie decides to reintroduce the weapon somewhere down the line. But either way, one of the weapon archetypes that's gonna take a hit here is the aggressive frame SMGs. There are only 6 of them available in the game currently. Huckleberry and the Crown of Sorrow's raid exotic Teraba are safe, but Imminent Storm, Cold Front, and Hard Truce are all due to be left behind, leaving the Ikelos SMG as the only legendary aggressive frame submachine gun that we're gonna be moving forward with. So, in this review, which was requested by Jeremy Miller, we'll be taking a look at if the Ikelos SMG is a gun that you're going to be wanting to move forward with in power-enabled PvP game modes in the future. And spoiler alert, you do. You want this SMG. While this weapon archetype is not in an extremely strong position right now, we don't know how the sandbox is going to shake out come November. If 600 RPM auto rifles see a substantial nerf, these aggressive frame SMGs could slip right in as the meta choice as far as automatic primaries go. Because even in the current landscape of the Crucible, they're still competitive. And as always, if at any time you feel you're finding some value in this video, both liking and subscribing are great ways to show your support. But let's get into the review by first taking a look at the Ikelos SMG's stats and perks. The Ikelos SMG was an exclusive Escalation Protocol drop when it was introduced, but has been repurposed here in Season of Arrivals. It is a legendary ARC, aggressive frame submachine gun shooting at 720 rounds per minute with a base 29 rounds in the magazine. At base, this weapon does have very good range and handling, but comes up a little bit short in reload and stability when compared to other submachine guns. Checking the hidden stats on light.gg, we have an aim assist value of 42, a bounce intensity of 10, and this weapon will pull to the left as it fires. And checking the usage rate on Destiny Tracker, Ikelos is sitting at the 37th most used gun for quick play Crucible game modes in the past month. So this is a weapon that is seeing a fair bit of use currently. Intrinsically, aggressive frame submachine guns have high damage and high recoil. And let me stop here for just a second to say, I do play on PC where recoil is not as much of an issue. But I do remember when I was playing on console that the recoil from this archetype of submachine gun was nightmarishly difficult to rein in. So I would highly recommend that if you are playing on console, you spec hard into stability. And even if you're playing on PC, a little more stability is going to help matters here. But the best roll I've obtained so far that I've been having the most success with is polygonal rifling for the barrel to increase stability, flared magwell on the magazine for a little bit more stability but a big bump to the reload speed, pulse monitor for perk column 1, which some consider to be a throwaway perk, but it can come in handy when wielding a close range weapon, and tap the trigger in the second column for that short window of bonus accuracy and stability on the initial trigger pull. I like to run a counterbalance stock to help straighten out that recoil pattern just a touch, and I am masterworked in range. For the damage numbers, the Ikelos SMG will do 22 points of damage on a crit and 16 points of damage to the body, giving us an optimal time to kill of 0.67 seconds requiring 9 crits, and a body shot time to kill of 1 second requiring 13 shots landed. For the effective range, we will deal full damage from up to 16 meters away. Past that, we will start seeing damage fall off. The damage fall off will bottom out at about 31.5 meters, where you will crit for 11 points of damage and score 8 points of damage on a body shot. But with that, let's talk about how this weapon can excel in the Crucible. So, as we talked about earlier, speccing into stability does a world of good for the Ikelos SMG. Unfortunately, there are a lot of great options in the perk pool to do this, along with boosting the usability in some other ways. I'll leave the full perk set up on screen for now, but I just want to touch on a few. If you're looking to max out your stability, polygonal rifling is a good option, but chamber compensator helps with the recoil direction also. Steady rounds will give you a big bump to stability, but it will cost you a little bit in the range department. And then dynamic sway reduction and tap the trigger are great working in tandem, giving you stability and accuracy boost not only on the initial trigger pull, but as you hold down the trigger. We also see some other nice options like Seraph rounds or Accurized rounds here, as well as Vorpal Weapon, Demolitionist, and Disruption Break. But I've been harping on stability mainly because that's what's giving us our best chance to hit that optimal time to kill. And since with the Ikelos SMG, we can down targets in its optimal range in 0.67 seconds, we have the potential to outgun a bulk of the weapons in the game currently. 0.67 seconds is fast, and the body shot time to kill of 1 second is also extremely good for a primary weapon, bested only by adaptive SMGs, burst sidearms, precision sidearms, and a small handful of exotics. And this weapon does feel right at home when playing aggressively. Not only do the strong time to kill values take opposing players off guard, but this is an SMG, which makes it feel naturally more responsive than other weapon types. Plus, in my experience with the roll I was using, firing from the hip or from the air feels pretty reliable at closer ranges. The Ikelos SMG is also a really fine weapon for stuffing shotgun rushers. By laying on the trigger and backpedaling just a touch, in most cases they won't have the time to close the gap on you. Another point that I breezed over earlier was the benefit of having pulse monitor on this SMG. Being a close range weapon, you're gonna be in the thick of it most of the time, and you're often gonna take some damage. After coming out of an engagement where you just ate some bullets, having your magazine reloaded will give you a fighting chance against any other enemy guardians that are in the area. And the last, and maybe the most obvious pro, is the fact that we're going to be bringing Ikelos SMG forward with us. Since it was re-released here in Season of Arrivals, this weapon has a good bit of life left in it. So if you end up picking up this gun and taking a shine to it, you can rely on it for a good long while. But we do have some cons to go over, so let's get into those now. Alright, to start off the cons, let me pull up the perk list real quick once again. Do you notice anything missing here? Like damage increasing perks? I mean, I suppose you could call Surrounded a damage increasing perk, and Disruption Break does apply a debuff when you break a Guardian shield, but no Rampage, no Swashbuckler, no Kill Clip. And I do feel like Bungie is trying to move away from perks like these, but we're still finding them on other weapons here in Season of 11, just not this one. And we are dealing with an SMG, which means close range weaponry, so you're gonna have to play in a little bit tighter with this gun to see the biggest benefits from this weapon. This is not something that every player is gonna be comfortable with, and this is not something that's gonna fit every player's playstyle. And then the recoil on this gun is still gonna be an issue to a certain extent. I mean, take a look here. With the roll I've been using, which does boost stability a good bit, the pattern still seems a little bit squirrely looking. But when I equip a roll that has absolutely nothing to settle that recoil down aside from tap to trigger, things get a little bit out of hand. And you can definitely see when tap to trigger lets go and the natural recoil of the weapon takes over. So if you have a roll that can't push that stability upward, it might not be worth using. And even if you do, actually hitting that 0.67 second optimal time to kill kinda seems like a pipe dream. You do need to land 9 consecutive crits, and it will happen from time to time, and it will be super cool. But for a weapon that pulls and kicks like this one does, it's just not gonna happen very often. And currently, the strength of auto rifles is keeping SMGs down as a whole. Adaptive frame auto rifles can kill almost as fast as these aggressive frame SMGs, and they carry nearly twice the effective range. I've got my fingers crossed for a change in the future, but for now, this is what we have to contend with. So for the verdict, and when it comes down to it, I really think the Ikelos SMG is a solid weapon for the Crucible. At least on PC. If you're a console player, let me know how you think it holds up on your platform. Because the recoil on this weapon is high enough to the point where I'm slightly concerned. But on PC, this thing really can be a handy weapon when playing more aggressively, due to the overall agility of the gun, and the fact it can down players really quick. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I feel like if auto rifles get brought down just a touch, Ikelos and other aggressive frame SMGs could start to work their way back into the meta. So I definitely say it's worth keeping an eye out for a good roll on this weapon, just to keep your bases covered for the future. And if you enjoyed this video, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. And you could follow Ironworker814 on Twitch if you'd like to come hang out live sometime. You could also follow Ironworker814 on Twitter, but the easiest way to contact me is simply to comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.